G'day and welcome to our clinic benchmark report. What I'm going to go through in this video is each of the slides here to help you to understand what it means and how it might apply to your business to hopefully give it a little bit more context. Now, you've likely already got the report now, and that's why you're watching this video, and you may have already had a look through it, so some of it may already make sense to you, but I'd encourage you to watch this video through to the end because it's going to add more context and places and things that you might not have thought of just yet. You can also watch this on 1.5 speed or 2 times speed because don't worry, I can't listen to myself on normal speed either. All right, so let's get kicking into this one. Now, if you scroll down to the second page, you'll find the method that we use to develop the report. Now, firstly, we got a progress report from our CEM members, from our Clinic Mastery members, and we then de-identified that and grouped it together based on type of clinic and size of clinic. We then analyzed the data to give some insights and created this benchmark report. So let's keep going through this one. It's relatively simple. All right, to start with, we broke it down into 2 groups. So the first group were our musculoskeletal professions. As you can see here, that's our physios, podiatry, osteo, chiro, exercise phys, myotherapy, massage, dietetics, and alternative therapies. We sort of lumped them together because the patterns in the data seem to make sense to go together. Now, group 2, that's our spot professions, as we call them. So speech, OT, psych, pediatric clinics. Basically, that's what we've put together. So you'll have pediatric physiotherapy in there as well, pediatric exercise physiology. Okay, so more looking at the pediatric side of things. So what you'll also see up here is we then looked at, well, there's also different size of clinics. So CMBA, which means Clinic Mastery Business Academy. So we looked at clinics that do more than 250,000 per month. That created one category. Then we looked at between 100 and 250,000 Australian dollars per month. Second category. Third category, Clinic Mastery Business Academy members who are under 100K per month, but over 30K, category 3. And then the fourth category was the Elevate clinics, and that's less than 30,000 per month. And it'll make more sense as we go through as to why we did this. But you'll see over here on the right-hand side, why this grouping? Well, the data revealed similarities within each group and significant differences between groups. So it's going to make more sense in a second. All right, if we scroll on down to page 4, this is just a little note on why we do what we do as Clinic Mastery. We want to help clinic owners to grow their clinic. We want to help them to transform allied health clinics with sustainable practices that amplify good. So what we don't want to do is give cookie cutter, implement this email system or this text system or whatever it may be. We want to help clinic owners to create sustainable growth over time to help them to achieve their desire statement, to help them to achieve their goals, and to create a clinic that fits their lifestyle and supports them, their family, their clients, and their community. So just a little bit about us. Now we'll keep on scrolling down. So the first thing we're going to look at is clinic revenue. So when we group it via clinic revenue, what have we found? So what you can see across the top here is the averages for each group. So for the Elevate clinic, so for the clinic doing less than 30,000 per month, the average monthly income or revenue, top line revenue, was 21,913. When we looked at clinics between 30 and 100, the average was 50,575. When we're looking at 100 to 250 per month, it was about 150,000. And when we looked over 250,000 per month, it was about 315,000 per month. So that just helped us to understand when we, within these groups, sort of where is the average, okay? And then we looked at the average of all musculoskeletal clinics. They sat around 74,409. And for the speech, OT, and psych clinics, about $104,000 per month. So that's what that means on the top there. Now, coming down, what you can see here is the trends, and I think this is really interesting to look at. So we can see the months of the year where we're likely to have a decrease in revenue and the months of the year where we're likely to have an increase in revenue. And what we typically see is that healthcare clinics have a cyclical pattern. So if you come across to the right here, what you'll find is that larger clinics, they tend to have more volatile revenue numbers with a pattern of high and low revenue months. So if you look at that top line, that's what you can see there. And you can see it's less pronounced in the smaller clinics. But something to note here is that because of how the graph is distorted, because we have to have the higher revenue clinics at the top there, what it's going to do is it's going to make the fluctuations, say for your Elevate clinic, so you're less than 30 and you're between 30 and 100K per month clinics, it's going to make that seem smaller because they're being plotted against each other. I hope that makes sense to you. March and May are typically the highest revenue months, followed by April and July being lower revenue months. And we've just been through April, actually, and it's been interesting to see a lot of clinic owners looking at their P&L and going, geez, this has been a bad month and starting to worry. And then at the end of May, they've gone, a pretty good month. And so what this can help with is to actually anticipate these things ahead of time and then look for strategies and solutions to have less of a drop of revenue during that time. Now, also in this report, the majority of clinics saw a downturn around January 2022. Now, key thing to note there is a lot of these clinics are in Australia, and that was a really big month for COVID cancels and closures, etc. People being off, having to isolate. So just to note that one down. And what I'd also like to point out here, and we've got it written just up here, is we like to think of revenue as a measure of the appreciation shown by your clients in response to the services that you provide. So you think of revenue or money, it's just a reflection of the value that you bring to other people, to your clients. And so for a clinic that is a high revenue generating clinic, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but me in healthcare, when I first started growing the clinic and the revenue numbers started going up, I started wondering, am I doing the wrong thing? Am I seeing people too often? Are my fees too high? It was this awkward kind of feeling of, well, I'm in healthcare, so I shouldn't be earning this much. And so I think it's good to reflect on what you get paid is a reflection of the value that you bring to your clients. And when you view it in those terms, I think it can really help us to be more comfortable with talking about numbers and money in healthcare. Awesome. Glad we got that one down. Now let's scroll on down to the next one. The next one is one-on-one consultations. So what we can see here, broken down exactly the same. For Elevate, so less than 30,000 per month, 166 on average. 450 for the 30 to 100 per month. When we look from the 100 to 250 per month, it's 1,010, and above 250,000 per month, it's about 1,300. And when we look at the averages between speech, OT, psych, and MSK clinics, what we can note here is quite interesting is that it's flipped. So even though they generate more revenue, they have less appointments to generate that revenue. And that makes sense. We can understand that. And we can see similar trends over here as to what we saw up here in our revenue numbers, because it makes sense. Your appointments and your consultations are going to be the main driver of revenue. And so if your revenue is up, your appointments or your consultations will be up. If it's down, it's likely that they're going to be down as well, unless you have other forms of income, online education, whatever it may be. And those are the things you can start to think about is, if our consultations were down, what else could we do to actually be bringing in income and adding value to our clients or to our profession or our local community? Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, for one-on-one consultations, it's a measure of the number of impacts you're delivering for people in your community. Each time you see someone for that consultation, you make an impact in that person's life. And that's something to really reinforce with your team, is that every single time that you get the privilege to work with a client, that is an impact in their life. And it can be positive, it can be neutral, or it can be negative. And how can we make it a little bit more positive every single time? Now, the notes on this one, as you can see here, fewer consults, but they tend to be longer sessions and higher revenue per consultation. What you find then is that cancellations has a bigger impact on overall performance because of the longer duration appointments. And so really nailing down that cancellation policy across all types of clients, especially in speech, OT, and psych, and anything peds, is very, very important. Not to say it's not important in MSK, but it's even more important there because it has a more pronounced effect. As with revenue, March and May have the highest number of consults. Like we said, they're going to follow each other unless there's another form of revenue, and followed by April and July being lower consult months. Easter, other public holidays, maybe people taking a bit of time either side of Easter. That typically happens. So let's scroll on down to average fee. So what you can see here is that the average fee for below 30K, about 112 for MSK, 173 for the spot clinics, 30,000 to 100,000, about 113. So there's not a huge difference there, and then slightly increased on 178 for the speech OT psych clinics. Interestingly, and again, this is only 1 year's data, but for the MSK clinics between 100 and 250, their average spend actually went down, but the overall number of appointments increased in order to make that happen. So it's interesting to look at how that changed. And then when we look at speech and OT, there's a significant jump up in average spend all those clinics. Speech OT psych, sorry. And then when we looked at $250,000 per month plus clinics, it was quite interesting to see that in MSK, they had a much higher average spend. Okay, so if you're in an MSK clinic and you're saying, I want to get to that level of 250,000 per month or more, on average, this is the average spend per appointment. Now, it'd be interesting to go in and really dive deep into this and go, do they have longer appointments, or are they just charging more per appointment, per unit of time? And if we look at the speech OT psych clinics, about 196 there. So slight decrease in average spend, but what we can see is that obviously they're seeing more appointments, more consultations. Okay, so start to think, where do you sit on this for the size of clinic you are? And do you match up to this data? And what might you be able to learn from this data that could help you to grow your clinic? Now, the next slide here, we have new clients. Now, unsurprisingly, speech, OT, psych clinics, pediatrics, especially clinics that work the majority of the time in the NDIS, you're going to find that they have a lot less new clients and a much longer patient visit averages or client journeys. And for MSK, you're going to find that there's a lot more new clients here. Makes sense. When someone comes in with a sprained ankle, after 4, 6, 7 sessions, they're probably all the way back to where they want to be. They're back playing sport or whatever it may be. So we don't need to see them again. When we're looking at someone who has a disability and they're on the NDIS, they're on the NDIS for life, essentially. And what they're looking at achieving, it's not just getting over a sprained ankle. It's achieving a functional goal and then another functional goal, and really making an impact and helping them to achieve their life goals. And so very, very drawn out client journeys. And so you don't need as many new clients. What you can see here is that for an Elevate clinic, so one that is less than 30K per month, they're getting about 20 new clients per month. For the 30 to 100K bracket, it's about 48 new clients per month. For the greater than 250K bracket, it's about 60 new clients per month. And for the 100 to 250K per month clinic, it's about 99 new clients per month. Interesting. So you might be thinking, why is this clinic over here that does greater than 250K per month seeing less new clients than this clinic? And what you find is that the clinics within this range tend to be more, or are more heavily weighted towards musculoskeletal, and these clinics tend to be more heavily weighted towards NDIS and disability clinics. So what you can see down here is you can think of new clients as a measure of your capacity to attract and help more people, okay? It's also a measure of your brand and also a measure of your availability, because you may have a great brand, you're great at what you do, you're absolutely fantastic, you don't have any availability, well then you can't take on any new clients. And so that's another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at this with a grain of salt. So what you'll see is MSK clinics see more new clients than speech and psych and OT clinics. Again, it's because of that longer client journey. The overall size of a clinic can't be determined by the number of new clients. And again, it's because of that client journey. Like we said, on average, more new clients are seen in November and February, and December is typically the lowest month for new clients. And I think if you're a clinic owner, you're probably not shocked by this data here at all right now. But sometimes it's nice to see, how is everyone else affected by the different cyclical patterns of the year or the type of business that they are, to help you to understand sort of where you sit and what you can aim for, or even can you buck that trend? Because there are definitely people that buck these trends. And next up, we have patient visit average. What you'll see here, when we look at MSK clinics, for the below 30K per month, 6.9 is the rough patient visit average. Now, a patient visit average is how many times would a patient see you for a bout of injury. So let's say someone comes in and for an MSK clinic, maybe they've got a shoulder issue and they come in, they have some treatment, they get better, 7 sessions later, that's a 7 PVA. Okay, hope that makes sense. So for a clinic that does less than 30K per month, averaging about 7. For the clinic that's about 100 30 to 100K per month, 9.6. So it increases, that makes sense. 100 to 250, you can see that it's a little bit less on average here, about 8.3. And for the 250K plus clinics, it's about 8.2. And so what you can probably learn from this data is that it's somewhere between sort of the 8 to 10 is going to be that sweet spot for PVA based on the averages that we have here. And what you might see, or what you might understand from this, is for these clinics that are doing 250K plus and averaging about 8.2, in order to sustain that, they must have fantastic client attraction, generating new client strategies. Okay. When we look at our speech, OT, and psych clinics, what we'll find is we've got a bit of an outlier here with 12 for those 30 to 100K clinics. I'd be interested to look further into that data to better understand it. It does seem like there could be a few things skewing that there, but we can see it goes from about 21 to 12 to 17.6 to 38.6. And what you might find here is that these might be relatively young clinics down here. And so they haven't matured fully yet. They haven't had enough time to create a large PVA, because PVA is determined by new clients, how long they come over time. And you might find that these clinics here doing 250K plus per month, they're very mature clinics. So people have been coming for a long period of time, which gives us a much more accurate and much more stable patient visit average. And the less turnover of staff you have, you'll also find that the patient visit average is lower because you've got less new clients coming in to see each therapist, essentially. All right, that is it for our clinic benchmark report. If you would like to get in contact with our team to have a clarity call to see how we can help you grow your clinic and to grow your impact, simply follow the link at the bottom of this document and book a time. We can't wait to chat to you to see how we can help you. It's what we love doing. We love helping clinic owners to achieve their goals, to create the business of their dreams, and to make a genuine impact in the lives of their team and their clients.